Good evening, everyone. I wanted to welcome you all to the Town of Webb May regular meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I wanted to thank everyone for attending this evening. Please sign in on the sign-in sheet and please make sure that your cell phones are turned off. Our next regular meeting will be on January 14th at 7 p.m. Or excuse me, June. I'm in January.
They were listening.
I know they were. I just want to see if you're paying attention. The June audit of claims will be held on the first Monday, June 6th at 5:30 p.m. Executive session may occur this evening if deemed necessary. We have some correspondence. The board has received a thank you letter from Kinderwood for the board's commitment to the community, programming, and the children. And I know I can speak on behalf of the board that we really appreciate Kinderwood as well. The board has received letters of resignation from Marcia Barker, who's been on the planning board, and she's been a member since 2002. From Steve Pearl, who has been a member since 2016 from the planning board, and a letter of resignation from Nick Rose, who has been a member since 2018 from the planning board. But Nick would like to stay on as an alternate for the planning board with no expiration date. We'd like to thank all the members that are resigning right now. They've put in many, many years, and we appreciate their service. New York State retirement. Be it resolved that the Town of Webb hereby establishes standard work days for elected officials, appointed officials, and will report the day's work to New York State and local employees' retirement system based on the record of activities maintained and submitted by the officials to the clerk of this body. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second? Second. Is there any discussion on that?
Like, I'm just wondering what
It's the standard one we do every 3 or 4 years.
we do. Okay, I wasn't sure if something changed.
Now, it's based on time cards, and everybody elected has to do one the first 3 months of every new time they're elected. Standard.
Remember that trying to write down all the hours that we spent.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? I'd like to do a roll call vote, please, Nancy.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green? Aye. Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
This is in reference to the Goggin property. We have a motion to convey a parcel of land situated between Joy Track and Joy Trail, approximately 6,738 square feet, to Shauna Douglas and Ryan Goggin for a purchase price of $1,100, and the buyers will pay all the expenses incurred by the town in effecting such conveyance, including attorney fees, recording, filing fees, and real estate transaction tax. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Barb, second?
I'll second the motion.
Second. Nancy, could you do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Gardner?
I'm actually gonna abstain just because it's my parents' neighbors, so, that's fine for that reason.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
4 ayes and 1 abstain.
Wastewater treatment plant roof. Scott Gaffney from the DPW Superintendent would like to go to bid to replace the roof system on one half of the building above the space above, the building above the office space at the wastewater treatment plant. The specs are on file with the town clerk. I need a motion to go to bid for one half of the roof system at the wastewater treatment plant. Bids will be due on Monday, June 13th at 4 p.m. Bids will be publicly opened at the June 14th meeting of the town board at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion?
On motion.
Second?
Second.
Discussion.
It's been a long time coming,
It has.
and I'm very excited to see this roof getting fixed. It's been leaking, it's been a mess. I'm very glad that we're working on getting that done.
Nancy, would you like to do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
The planning board would like to appoint William Morris as a member of the Town of Webb Planning Board to replace Marcia Barker for the term expiring on 12/31/28. Do I have a motion?
Motion to appoint.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Other than thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The planning board would like to appoint Brian Dornberg as a member of the Town of Webb Planning Board to replace Steve Pearl for the term expiring 12/31/26. Do I have a motion from the board?
Make a motion.
Any? Second?
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Other than thank you?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? An alternate planning board, that Nick Rose be appointed as the alternate member of the planning,
Oh, you skipped one.
oh, I did skip one, excuse me. Planning board, that Ed Tondrick be appointed as the member of the Town of Webb Planning Board to replace Nick Rose for the term expiring 12/31/25. Do I have a motion?
Second.
All in, any discussion on that? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now the one I just did. Alternate planning board. That Nick Rose be appointed as the alternate member of the Town of Webb Planning Board. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Bless their hearts.
Yes. Thank them very much.
Thankless job, right?
Request for proposal for the Lakefront Pavilion. The Town of Webb Town Board, we're seeking proposals for qualifications of an architectural firm for programming and schematic design phase services for this project. The goal is to create a positive, eye-catching structure at this location to not only improve the functionality, but highlight the attractive characteristics of our area. The proposals were due by April 29th, 2022. Does the town clerk have any RFPs?
We received one from Holmes King Calquest and Associates Architects LLP. And their proposal is for $15,000. It's initial meeting and programming phase for $3,000, schematic design phase for $6,000, rendering only $3,000 for a total of $15,000. The fee includes the fee for all phases listed above. It does not include preliminary engineering, requested meetings, extensive site design, boundary and topographic survey. That's the only one we got.
Didn't request if we have a meeting.
Requested meetings beyond the initial meeting. If additional meetings for development of this facility are requested, we will be invoiced at $500 per meeting.
More. Meetings for that nowadays.
Additional meetings. So I think that there's still,
There's an initial meeting and a programming phase. I don't know what that means.
you're still dealing with it when the programming stage, it's just that it's starting to a bunch of changes going on, and then there'll be additional amounts on that. So. That's good.
And we did put money in the budget to do this.
Pretty sure that there's 20 in the budget for this. So there is essentially 10 extra meetings if needed in there. Hopefully we wouldn't do that. Hopefully we do the right thing up front.
Would someone like to make a motion to accept the proposal?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I mean, this is the planning stage of creating what it is that we could possibly move forwards with. You know, I mean, there's still gonna be more steps done after this, but the goal is to hopefully get something that we all approve. That's gonna be a benefit down there for the community, and then, you know, we can give us a good idea of funding, what we're gonna need to raise, and it'll also give us the ability to go after funds, because we'll actually have a plan started in place. So we can't really attack funds without, can't say, well, we're gonna do something without showing something. So this is the beginning step of that.
So when you put this together, does it work in coordination with the original Lakefront design?
It does, well, essentially, they did have in there for that section dedicated possible bandstand, possible something, they kind of left that one, it's more of like a question mark. And there, they had recommended removing the tennis courts.
So it would bolster anything with maintenance for capital.
It does, it'll tie right into that. We can easily tie it into the original 2013.
Thanks.
Sorry, I jumped it down a little on the discussion.
That's all right, that's all right. Nancy, you want to do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
Five ayes.
We have the hauling of solid waste. We need a motion to advertise and accept bids for the hauling of solid waste from the town of Webb Transportation Station to the designated Oneida Herkimer Waste Management Authority site. The bid opening will be on June 14th at 7 p.m. All specs are on file with the town clerk. Do I have a motion?
Motion to go to bed.
Second?
I'll second it.
Nancy, would you like to do a roll call vote? Oh, is there any discussion? I'm sorry.
Then we got to, gonna go up a little bit.
Nice and fuel.
Would you like to do a roll call vote, please, Nancy?
I would love to. Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
Five ayes.
Okay, the dog park. We have a motion to move forward on the Conklin Family Dog Park. The dog park will be located at the Railroad Avenue. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Kurt, second.
Second.
Tommy, is there any discussion?
Who's the Conklin family?
They made the donation to, so the Conklin families have been coming here for many years. The father is not doing well, and the family donated 20 grand, the fund over there.
Actually 25.
25, oh, sorry, 25 now.
Yeah.
Towards the dog park.
So the family.
Yeah, oh, yeah, sorry. Robin, you can probably say it better than I can. We mentioned it before.
Well, I don't, and I wasn't prepared to talk
Yeah,
about
sorry.
that family.
Judy, I thought Judy was gonna be here, so.
Yeah, Judy knows the family very well. And when I suppose they were talking about the possibility of a dog park, there was, an interest in making a sizable donation towards it with the understanding that it would be named after the family. So they donated. First, the initial donation was 20, and then they just added another 5 a few weeks ago.
Where on Railroad Ave? So,
Where the green space is?
is this along Pointer?
At the far end. The other one too.
Where's parking going to be?
So that dirt road that cuts through there, it's not really supposed to be a dirt road going through there, it's gonna be blocked off. So that's where the parking's going.
Nancy, would you like to do a roll call vote?
As long as that's all right.
Oh, I'm sorry, Nancy has a picture.
So I have a question that probably Fred would be thinking right now. Is it going to be lit? Is it going to be used at night? What kind of
what kind of stuff will they be
Not
contending with
lit,
as
and
neighbors?
there will be a time frame set to it,
Okay.
to take in consideration of being in the neighborhood, so
Okay.
it'll say either dusk, because dusk just, time changes for us, but yeah, there will be a start time and an end time.
So that, all the extra parking's gonna be eliminated at the west side of it, or that parking area, or?
I guess I put up,
No,
I don't think any,
That'd be on the east side, wouldn't it?
I don't think that anything, if anything, parking will be added.
I thought he was gonna keep. He didn't.
What, there's a lot of construction vehicles and stuff parked in that area.
They don't park in the drive-through section, they park in that.
That's still gonna be allowed.
Oh, it's not gonna be removed, so not anticipating 50 cars in that. But even if that's the case, they're still, on this side, and up for 10 cars over here too. Parking won't be an issue.
Just gave a great close-up for the video.
So, we did, well, there was plans to try to put it over on North Street, which personally I thought was a great spot. There was a couple of snags that happened, and this spot was available and would work financially, work better, and didn't have to do a lot of work to make it happen, so that's, I guess I want to say that's,
Is this
I'm
gonna
okay
be
with that.
policed then anyway, or? I mean, people, what are they gonna do when their dog does this business?
Pick it up.
Pick it up.
They will?
People are pretty good that
Pretty good
utilize
dog
dog
parks.
parks, yeah. They really are. And they're anxious to have something like this, so we'll have the dispenser for cleaning up.
We'll have the stuff on there, and the bags will be in there, and the cans will be there for it to be
Bear-proof,
inside of it.
Bear-proof cans.
bear-proof can?
Yes, we
Yeah,
will
bear-
be
Yeah, I
having,
guess it would be.
yep, we're having
If they are,
bear-proof cans.
the bear will have a ball.
That'll be a fun one.
Yeah. You're right, well, that.
I don't think we can use any other kind of garbage cans.
Yeah, not at all. How often will it be empty for odor?
What's that?
How often will a container be empty because of odor?
I imagine if you
Whenever
just
they
put
do
on
the
the
garbage.
CPW weekly schedule of taking it out.
You'll be in charge of the sniff test.
I don't think you can smell much out of those. I mean, the garbage cans in town don't smell when you walk by them, so they're sealed up pretty good.
this probably isn't gonna solve the problem, but I can tell you, the soccer field over there, just last night or the night before, had a lot of problems with dogs. So we would love to put a handle on that, because that's not good for the kids.
People aren't picking it up, what you're
Yeah.
saying.
A little different.
Well, in the soccer field, they're not paying attention, the dogs are just running wild, and if you're not paying attention to what your dog's doing, then you don't know if it did or didn't do it, it's half the problem.
I don't think this is gonna solve
I
that,
don't either.
but maybe.
Good luck.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
Opposed? Assistant Building Inspector, Code Enforcement Officer Andrew Getty would like to create a position, Second Assistant Building Inspector. The position is a full-time year-round position with benefits. Would like a motion to create a Second Assistant Building Inspector position, full-time benefits. This is not a civil service.
I would make
Position.
a motion to, for Andy to look for that person.
Second,
Second,
any discussion?
do you wanna offer any information on it or no?
Primary immediate purpose is to fulfill the dye testing, which is a summer seasonal program. The last 4 years, but unable to hire someone on a part-time seasonal basis. They've asked a short period of time legally. So that program would get up and running 100%, which is also partially funded by the Property Owners Association and Hickory Lake Property Owners Association. Fire safety inspections, existing buildings is something we need to pay better attention to. Between Steve and I and the 400 plus building permits and construction inspections, and we need that person. And it's also earmarked that that person plus Steve and I will be working on the rental program once that's in place. It's a needed position.
It should be noted that this was budgeted for. So
Yes, we'll discuss the budget time.
Nancy, would you like to do a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Gardner?
Aye.
Councilwoman Green?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
Five ayes.
Great. Kurt, do you have anything for us this evening?
We received information from the state that they're ready to move forward with the mountain bike grant, which is great, which means that they actually have money in their accounts to move forwards with, is what we were waiting for. So, Living 80K has been great in getting us together. There were a few more pieces of paper that need to be done. One of the things that we needed to complete was to go out and actually physically flag some of the trails, just to identify more precisely, so for a bidding process, that's fair to everybody. When they go in, they follow the flag trails, there's a description talked about with the grading or what is kind of expected for that area, so that when they go out for bid specs, it's a fair bid process for people to look at that. So APTA's been busy in there doing that, GPS and the flag trails, so hopefully early next week we'll have that together and submit that paper, and then hopefully we can start moving forwards.
does AFTA actually post the bids?
No, the town will have to do it. I'm pretty sure that we'll do the bid process. It's just that this is one of the steps that needs to be completed in order to go out to bid. So we can either pay an outside vendor to go out and flag the trails or something like this, but APTA's taking it on. They're going to do it, so they're taking on that role of fulfilling that part. So it'll be a much more detailed map as far as where they're going to be going.
What is this, what trail are you referring to?
So we received a grant from the state for $250,000 to add additional mountain bike trails.
Okay.
They're primarily not on down towards your section. It's not Maple Ridge so much. All the trails are pretty much on Macaulay Mountain and on the backside. Is where the
I just didn't hear what trail.
Yes.
Talking about snowmobile or bike
there's
trails.
there's 7 trails that we need to complete with that money. That's what's in the plan. Is 7 trails.
How many additional miles will that be? That's quite a few.
It's it's a decent amount. I think it puts like another
Another 7 miles.
7 to 10 miles, I think, somewhere in there. It just depends on how it flags out. They have to work around, wetlands and everything else like that. So that's what we're achieving right now, is more detailed. So once I get done with the GPS, I'll know exactly, but it's going to be more than 7 miles.
We're gonna need an extra rest stop or restroom. Somewhere in that.
They'll be there
trail.
Monday. If they're not there now, I talked
They
to
aren't there yet.
them. Monday they'll be there.
Because
I
people
talked to
stand
them
on
today.
the trail.
Yeah. So Monday the bathrooms.
Better get an X-ray or two.
And then the new trail is open. There is a new trail. If you do mountain bike up there or hike up there, it goes off a road trip, which was put in behind Macaulay Mountain. It goes around the whole backside. And it's so beautiful back there to even hike. It's called Road Trip. It's easy to find on the trail maps. It's a little bit of a hike up there, but it's not horrible. But the views are spectacular back there. I mean, just unlike things I've seen up here before, just totally different. Big beaver meadows, and then you get the mountains in the background. It's not what you'd expect when you get to the top of the mountain in the valley there, but it's cool. But the new trail's open. It comes all the way down through Ramblers Glades and switchbacks across Challenger, and ends up back down towards the trail on that side. So that one's getting great reviews. So they finished it last year, but it was too muddy. They let it sit over the winter. Now it's rolling. The Black River, Hudson River was here today, and they showed us some preliminary kind of stuff on the dam. The dam's going to be getting replaced over here in the next
They said
2 to 6 years, we'll say. So it was a nice presentation. They don't really have it laid out, but it was just more just kind of going over, and we got to see a site visit as to what areas are going to be disturbed. And then, you know, in talking with them, they are going to take into consideration of preserving the iconicness of what we have now with the dam structure and building there the best they can, taking that into consideration. So that was good.
Did you guys mention anything about the break wall? Any interest at all in any of that?
Yeah,
Going
we're-
along the thing. So what they're saying is they're recommending that we try to create a joint plan together and go after state grant money and replacing and redoing that side of the lakefront and do it as a joint venture, which will give us higher for that side over there, give us higher grading levels. So in about 8 months, they're gonna start sitting down, talking with us and looking at the plan that we kind of drew up, and they're gonna try to incorporate that into their drawings and plans so we can piggyback off each other on doing that. They've had good success with that, so that would be great. Hopefully replace that.
Right, because I know the DPW guys have been saying that we gotta do something over there, and it's gonna last that long.
They're gonna rip a good chunk of that out of there when they go in there, and they're gonna dig out. The channel's gonna have to go towards that, so the Pied Piper side more, the deep channel. So that's gonna get it's gonna get changed around a little bit. So yeah, it's gonna look different. And then lastly, I've been seeing all the town workers out there blowing off the streets and breaking everything up, and it just looks great up there. So I just wanted to thank them for all the hard work I've been seeing do the last month. So that's it.
Tommy?
I just wanted to report on that whole rec center thing that we've been working on. I mean, we've been talking in discussions about other stuff of that nature, but back in January, the first meeting, we brought up the idea of upgrading that so we can get more use out of it for our community, and it's like, okay, do the research. Did that over the month. February, we talked it over. In March, we decided to move forward, look for funds for it, and then April, we had a site visit with the Wattis Foundation, and we just found out, at the end of the month, I'm sure some of you know already, but with the help of Living 80K, we got $133,000 full grant to upgrade the rec center over there. So, we're going to move forward with that. That's all in the plan to get that floor down, and the check is already, we got the check delivered last week. So, pretty cool stuff, and really quick. It's not gonna affect anything that's going on down there. It's just gonna make us get more use out of it, year round. For our kids, most importantly.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, and the equipment, they even rolled that into it. I was thinking they were gonna take some things away from it, but they gave us the full amount we asked for it. And it went pretty smooth. And now we just gotta have the installers come and put it down. We think within the next couple months, we should be able to have that down, but that's all I got for it now. That's all.
Congratulations.
What kind of flooring is it?
It's just like a multi-purpose floor that you can do hockey, like roller hockey on, soccer, basketball, baseball, volleyball, pickleball. It just creates, and it's gonna make it way safer too. We got like $10,000 worth of padding on the sides of the building too. So like the kids go in there and run around for some of the stuff that Jackie over here is doing. There's not a safety issue in there. It's not a concrete floor. And even when we have weddings and some of the events we have in there now, like the floor can actually be clean. It's not just a stained concrete floor now that it looks now. The soccer turf that's down right now will finally get out of there, and it'll just be. It's not permanent, but it can't be lifted. But
I was questioning for the different events that do go on there.
You can drive on
Question
it.
oh
to
yeah,
death.
it all went into that. So trucks and forklifts, aerial lifts, maintenance vehicle, all that stuff can go in there. That won't affect it at all.
Well, sidewalk insulated, because we'll be running heat for, right? Because now we
That's-
just,
Yeah, so Barb's gonna
Oh,
answer that
sorry.
probably when she gets into that, but you know, as for now, or she's gonna, I'm sure she's gonna address that. That's all I have, Barb.
Barb?
Okay, so Fred, in answer to your question, the board has in front of them just today, so I don't expect any action this minute, and I don't know that this will require a resolution either. I guess we have to find out. NYSERDA and NYPA, New York Power Authority, work together. You can apply for funding you apply through NYPA for funding to get assistance from NYSERDA, where they will come in and do a study of your building, an audit of your building for heat, to help us to do something that would create cleaner energy use over there, better energy use, and to reduce the costs. So we just got the paperwork in front of us. It's actually a two-form application that all it needs is the supervisor's signature to get the ball rolling. And then they will come in and evaluate the entire building. They would look at lighting, at heating, at kitchen equipment, at anything that we use, but primarily we're concerned about heat for your very question. And I asked that of Kyle and Tommy and Jackie, when we turn the heat on, what's gonna happen? Because it is a very expensive building to heat. So how quickly this process happens, I'm gonna guess it won't happen quickly because it's two government agencies, or three including us. So we'll do the best we can, but I think this is a good way to go. It costs money. It's actually the total project cost to have them come and do the audit is $5,440. The incentives that we get applying for this grant money, they will pay $1,248 of that. So the board would still have to come up with $4,192, which is well worth the money. It's one of those things where we got to spend money in order to get through the process. Once we are approved for the grant, then they would help us to align a consultant that would come in to do the work. And so stay tuned, but we are aware of the heating costs and we are eager to address making it more cost effective for the taxpayer.
this wouldn't happen though for this heating season.
I highly doubt it.
That's pretty fast.
I highly doubt
This
it.
will turn around.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that it's not going to happen quickly, but I've been the squeaky wheel. I called the guy and emailed him and drove him crazy until he finally sent something in 2 pages. So anyhow, stay tuned for that, okay?
It isn't necessarily just because of the floor. The floor doesn't actually need heat.
No, it's the building itself.
Right.
There's no
and the
heating on
cost.
there's heating in the ceiling, but not sidewalls.
In other news, the Sharp building is underway. The renovations are occurring. They've torn out the bathroom components so that they can put in handicapped restroom stuff. And Rex is preparing an MOU with the school attorney, but we're on hold right now while I wait for some specifics from Linda Grace regarding hours of use. We're still hoping for a June 1 date to start moving in. On that same note, I want to say thank you to Bonnie and Phil Petty. They donated a 50-inch Bose flat screen TV for the program. And thank you to Brennan Riolo and Mike Yule for helping to move it from my car into the house. It's a TV that weighs 135 pounds, so it was no easy feat, but I appreciate it. Rex has said that the school has begun to open up to some adult gym activities, which is good. We're finally getting past COVID issues, not that we're past COVID. Mike Ross and I met with Andy yesterday to restart our zoning review, yay. And we want to get our zoning in line with the comprehensive plan. That's something we've been working on for a while. Andy asked that I contact Nan Stolzenberg of Better Places, Planning Better Places, excuse me. And Nan is the consultant we worked with on this and the short-term rental law. And she's willing to come back to help us complete the review. I did email she and Andy together so that they can connect and discuss what steps we need to take next. And then Mike and I will work with them to hopefully bring the whole draft to the board to move on that as soon as we can. We're going to be adding some verbiage on cannabis regulations. We're also going to be looking at considering accessory dwelling units, ADUs, as a possible option for long-term rental with our housing issues that we're dealing with. It's just possibly one more layer. And ironically, I spoke with Nicole Allen of the Burge today. She's on the Water Authority board, and she was one who started our comprehensive plan with us. She had to leave because of family issues, but she was a presenter for the Association of Towns. I took her virtual class in February, and it was all about ADUs. So she's gonna send me the PDF from her class so that we have detailed information from that, anything that we can glean from it to see if we can use that. Two other quick items from the virtual training. They discussed the requirement of posting for meetings and expressed the need to use as many ways as possible instead of just the newspaper. So we can commend Nancy and ourselves for getting our postings in print on the office board, on our website, if needed on social media to get the word out. We also record and share our meetings on YouTube and in minutes. So we do all the things that they were saying that you need to step up and do these. So kudos, gang. Secondly, it was recommended that at budget time, this is something kind of cool, you guys might like this, that the board actually hold their budget meetings at the locations of some of the departments so that we could see firsthand what the needs are. I thought it was a great idea. So, like highway, go up there and let them tell us what vehicles are having issue. And
I won't go to the wastewater treatment plant.
You're passing that.
I'll pass on that.
Anyway, it sounded like a neat idea because rather than sitting in this meeting room where they're trying to rifle through papers and explain stuff, we can see firsthand. So
Good
that's
idea.
all I have.
That's a good idea.
You ready, Mike?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't have much tonight. I just wanted to make mention that I did get a call from Corey today. He usually calls me just before the meeting and basically thanking the town attorney, Nancy and Bonnie, for moving on, getting everything that has to go with the wastewater treatment plant because it was kind of getting a little slowed down. But now that we have things from the DEC requirements to get that, that's rolling. He also mentioned, the seeker, that's working, and I think next month we should be working on that.
Yes, next June meeting.
So that's, all these things are great because we need to get going on that. I mean, chances of that project being done even the beginning of next year is probably kind of hefty, so it's gonna take some time. And he also said that consolidating funding, they starting to open up those, and they have to be in by the end of July, so he's searching for all that kind of stuff. I mentioned to him about all of our sewer problems, so he's on it. He's been a good help, so thankful to him. And that's other than if you want to mention something about what you said to me about the streetlights that got a little slowed down also.
I got that right here.
Okay, good.
I reached out to Mark Runke today, he's from NIPA, about the scheduled project for our street lighting. They're just finishing up in New Hartford and Herkimer. They do not have a schedule set for us yet, but I'm hoping in our next meeting that I'm gonna tell you there's 20 lights up. So I'm hoping between now and the next meeting that this is gonna be in process, because I was told that it would be. So that's what I'm hoping for, I just don't have a date.
This additional lighting?
Pardon me?
Additional lighting or new lighting?
It's new lighting, LED street lights.
Are they gonna go with the softer ones, the bright, obnoxious white ones?
It's supposed to be a softer one. We'll see when they light them up.
They're actually dimmable
They're
also if
dimmable.
we needed to, so they start them at 80%.
The ambulance fundraiser, I don't know if anyone's seen that over on the lakefront, but it's really neat. You can buy a flag in honor or gratitude of someone who either now, someone who is past or present. You can put their name on it and a memorial for them. It's really nice and it's a great fundraiser for them, so I encourage people to look into that. Kurt reported on the Black River Authority. That was really a neat thing to see. They're gonna widen the dam. That's all I have.
I forgot one.
Yeah, go ahead.
They can remind me, 'cause you have it on front of me here. We do need to do something with the SMART grant that came along with the streetlights. We got a $60,000 grant that came along with it, or $40,000. There was a grant that came with it.
54.
And it allowed us to put smart technology into some of the streetlights. the town board, this was before I was on board, the town board chose then to do internet. So the wireless antennas could be put along Main Street, and internet could be provided in the area. They do need us to, they redid the I don't know if you saw, they redrew where the antennas would go to serve better coverage going down actual Main Street. So now it's going from basically over here, Covered Bridge area, all the way down to Ozzy's more or less, if we green light it. So the technology, and then it also is the beach and portions of the lakefront. And you can see on the maps in the back of this thing here that you'll see kind of like the further you are from the antenna, the less strength it gets. But so there's two things that we need to do. We need to, this is already basically paid for and done for. We just have to, in order for them to go ahead and install them, we need to approve this contract at some point, and then which just needs signature. And then we need to power it. So basically, it's going to take us to run internet power. So there'll be two lines that need to be run: one to this building, and one to the bathrooms in the center of town. Because the distance it's going, they need two power supplies in order to create adequate connectivity, so it actually works rather than being really strong down here and really weak down there. They decided to do two access points. So we have to decide, it is expensive to power the internet for that kind of usage for that many people, day users. We can turn it on and turn it off. So my recommendation would be that we turn it off like June to October or something like that, or during that season, that we wouldn't leave it on all year round. Would be my recommendation. Or we can reduce it down. We can also reduce down the amount of bandwidth that we're putting into it, so we don't have to pay. So we can up it. We can figure out when our high usage is the highest and keep those months high, and then we can bring it back down to a very low usage point to save on money.
Yeah, I think you kind of scared us a little bit when you said the monthly.
It's bigger than
Scared
I thought.
me, I can tell you that.
It was more than I expected. So,
Yeah.
How much is it?
I believe, and I don't have the numbers right in front of me, unfortunately, but I think it was $1,000 a month for the two 500 megabytes supplies for each side, or we could do a gigabyte to each building, and that would be $12.95 a month, I believe it was. $12.95, I gotta guess, which may be fine during the high peak seasons. So I can see the utilization of that, but to keep bandwidth like that going all year round, it could be a misuse of funds.
How far will this cover? I mean,
Goes pretty far from the standpoint. It goes basically from, we'll say, lakefront side over here of the shell of the other side of the covered bridge, all the way down Main Street.
so the Piper would go to there?
You could get it there. You should be able to get it there. I don't know how strong the signal will be there, but it does. It's probably, I'm assuming it's okay to show the map, right?
Yeah, kind of.
So,
Kind of
there,
says we're getting bugs and all that.
let you guys, I'll pass this around, so. You can see here we are, so everything in the circles gets covered essentially, okay? So here's the beach, so it is gonna go, there's a circle missing. This is one circle, this is ground zero. So that's gonna so take this and radiate that out around the top. Does that sense? So there's gonna be a power point here at right beside the top building, and the power point from the back. Yeah. And they're all antennas, so they basically point antenna to antenna to antenna to antenna, and just as long as it has line of sight. The problem is we could do one source, but it's hard to do line of sight from all the way down there to all the way. So that's why that's really why we can do two. So first and foremost, I guess, is the contract, the new contract with the new layout. Once we approve that, then we can figure out, this is already done and basically came with it. And then we can decide afterwards how we want to power it, for how long.
These don't have cameras on though, right? Because that was talked about a year ago, putting cameras on there for all that.
Did we talk about select areas, like by the public bathroom?
Right, but that's not being done.
Not at the
Or the-
moment.
Not at the moment, no, this is just strictly internet. And the way that it would work is, it's like when you go to an airport or go somewhere else, there's gonna be a contract that pops up, you agree to the terms of the contract. And you get Wi-Fi. It will kick you out after 8 hours or whatever it is. It's not meant for somebody to be on there for days on end or run your business off of it. It's there for the people that, you can do a video conference while you're here, you gotta, wanna watch a movie or check things out on the internet. One thing.
They're gonna be like, technology payments and stuff, at least you're going through your phone, tickets for this, or, you're paying for stuff at a souvenir shop or a gift shop or restaurant, out through your phone, you can't access, things of that nature, that'll help with that too.
One thing, anything like that. One thing, I don't know if it'll help it or not, but I'm assuming it will a little bit, is that we all have experienced in the summertime how our cell phones don't really work well because everybody's pulling internet, essentially all the bandwidth of the cell phone towers onto their phones doing internet things because there's so much everything's internet based now. This may potentially help ease that if people are on there with free Wi-Fi, if they're utilizing the Wi-Fi to search and do all the things that they do on the internet, it might hopefully free up a little bit of bandwidth off the cell phone towers. Not guaranteeing it, it just, in my head, it should possibly help relieve that.
If I may back to your original thing about the dog park, is the architect or anybody done any designing for landscaping or anything, or is it just gonna be a metal fence around?
It's a black metal fence.
Right, but is there any trees or rocks planted, anything to enhance the area?
There is talk of trees, there is talks of trees going in there, and then they have really beautiful dog things, like there's like a balance beam that looks like a log, and it's really beautiful, cute dog park stuff. It's,
Do you have a place for people to sit down?
there will be, they can sit down if they want to. Sure, there's gonna be benches, there's gonna be benches, and there's a bunch of stuff. It's gonna be like a park setting inside there, but your dog will run around and, there'll be structures in there. That stuff hasn't been worked out exactly because there's donations that are coming in towards purchasing other structures that are in there, that can go in there. But essentially, it's gonna look really nice in there, I think. It's
Hopefully
black.
it's gonna look nice on the outside too.
Well, it's black fence, so it's still.
No, but I meant, maybe some trees or bushes or rocks, little, just put them there.
Yeah, well, that's what's there now, but there's gonna be trees that'll go in, and I don't know about rocks and stuff like that, but there's gonna be.
Inside or outside or both?
Just put it on.
I think the trees would go inside. They're gonna go anywhere, so it'd probably be inside, great shade for the dogs.
Put you on the committee, Fred.
What's that?
Better put it on the landscape committee.
Hey, Nancy, you're up.
So,
Hey, just ask one question about the internet stuff. You're providing that for Old Forge. Is there any consideration for the Eagle Bay area?
so the way that the grant worked, it was a limited grant. Basically, it was free money to be taken towards it. So at this time, no, there was like 10 towers or 10 satellite things that linked together. So there was enough to do one location within that portion. Could it be done up there? I think it could be.
You're gonna have grant money for this application. How about next year? The budget, they have to pay for it through the town or for more grant money?
Well, it's gotta make sense too, people walking the streets in Eagle Bay, is that really, other people, it's not really happening up there currently. Should it? That'd be great if it were, but right now, there's not enough shops, enough going on in Eagle Bay for something nice to be spent up there.
Yeah, pretty good tax base up in that area.
For
And you
sure.
got, and access, and for people up there to have access in between the towers and stuff, which you got stronger signals down here because of the towers. So just,
I get what you're saying,
it
should be something to look at.
balance things out. You pay taxes that end also.
100%.
Okay, we're gonna finish up and then we'll go to public discussion. Nancy, go ahead, you're up.
Okay, I need a resolution to allow Otter Lake Fire Department to sell raffle tickets in the town of Red.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed?
Thank you. And so am I. We have a COVID booster vaccine clinic coming up on May 11th. Ooh, that's tomorrow, at 10 to 2 at the Park Ave. It's been on, we've had it advertised all over. Herkimer County is doing it. Anybody has any questions, they need to call Herkimer County.
But it's a walk-in clinic.
But it's a walk-in clinic. Second booster, all ages 50 and older. And they will have all the kinds, what is it, Pfizer and Moderna and J&J, I believe they said. No appointment necessary, bring ID, COVID vaccine card, and your insurance card. We went on new transfer station hours we're on our seasonal hours. So we're open Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 8 to noon, closed on Wednesdays. And Saturday and Sunday, we're open all day now. So we added those extra hours in before.
All day.
All day on Saturdays and Sundays, that's new. And then we have our junk days coming up. First 3 Saturdays in June, June 4th, June 11th, and June 18th, 8 to 4. Typical white metal junk, but if you are taking any appliances or tires, make sure you come see me for a permit. Let's see, I think that is everything. And you guys have a meeting on May 18th. I haven't confirmed with Bob Kelly, but with Bob Kelly and Don Hall, May 18th at 2 o'clock.
Is it the only meeting that day?
Yes, to the best of my knowledge, it's the only meeting yet. And it will get advertised, but I'm waiting to confirm with Bob Kelly, May 18th. That's all I have. I'm good, thank you.
Now we're on to Brian, our town attorney. Do you have anything?
I don't.
All right.
Okay, I do. I have one update. The other real estate transaction that's contemplated apart from the Douglas Goggin one, the other one, we have conveyed the board's counteroffer to the attorney for the prospective buyer, and we've not heard back from the attorney yet, so we're just waiting to see if they want to accept it or not.
Thank you. Okay, now to the public. Yes, ma'am.
Mark, in the consideration of the new senior house, have you figured out where people are going to park their cars?
Yes, the school is going to provide parking because the busiest time is in the summer. So they're going to build, they got rid of all those flower boxes or gardens, whatever they were. So they're going to build a platform in the front and do a ramp off to the side to the school parking lot. So in the summer, there's or in the winter rather, there's some street parking, some school parking, but it's minimal numbers of people that drive. In the summer, there will be ample for the increased numbers. Yeah. Yeah, the school's been great working with us on this.
Yes, sir.
Hi. For those that don't know me, my name is George Peterson, and last year I made a couple presentations to the town board regarding PWCs. Basically, I'll just recap this real quick, if I can. Basically, the law, Chapter 190, is almost 20 years old and outdated. And I remember when we did that law because those the type of equipment back then was pretty obnoxious. Your proposals and findings in the code, they cite air and water pollution, excessive noise, disturbance, and disruption of wildlife, damage to plant life, threat and damage to public safety, and disruption of tranquility. 2006, the EPA really forced down on these manufacturers, and they've made a 90% reduction in emissions, 70% reduction in excessive noise. Which, by the way, that's due to 4-strokes. This year I got educated on 2-strokes because my 4-stroke snowmobile didn't come in after 14 months. It just came in last month. And I ended up buying a 2-stroke, and I'm really impressed with how they cleaned up even the 2-strokes. Are a lot quieter. They don't have the emissions due to the technology. Disturbance and disruption to wildlife. I really don't see that. I do all the lakes. I don't see how they're more disruptive than some of these power boats. I don't know what damage to plant life we have that are being disruptive. PWC, stay away from any type of plants anyways, because if you suck them in the intake, you're going to overheat and you got to get out and clean that up. Threat and damage to public safety. I've made a few inquiries on accidents with these PWCs. There really hasn't been a whole lot. So, and as far as this disruption of tranquility, Fourth Lake and all the lakes is really a tourist lake. It's maybe if you go up in the high peaks in some of these lakes where there's only a few houses on there, That's one thing, but with all these houses on these lakes now and the music they're playing and all the big power motorboats, the PWCs really aren't that harmful. Right now the hours of operation are 9 to 6, and it should be to the state sunrise to sunset. And one of the disadvantages for anybody that has a PWC is there's times I haven't been able to go out in the middle of the day because with all the boats and the wind, the water is rough, and everybody knows the lakes. What happens after 6 o'clock a lot of times, the water's calm right down. I have seen families, a father on one, 2 kids, and a mother, on wave runners. People are spending anywhere from $6,000 to almost $20,000 for these things. Hypothetically, maybe somebody on Fourth Lake or any lakes cook a nice dinner or something, and it's after 6:30. Maybe they want to get on these PWCs, come in Old Forge for for ice cream and stuff like that. The way these are being used is really changed. But basically, due to all the updates and upgrades on these PWCs are no more harmful than all these power boats that we have on the Fulton Chain of Lakes. Enforcement, because it's a continuous navigable waterway, I'm not really sure if it's enforceable. The code says you're supposed to have signs on all the lakes. There are absolutely no signs whatsoever. The only one I saw was in Fifth Lake, but that was a 5-mile-an-hour zone. The one in the channel is gone. Penalties, you cite the penalties for the violation, and you cite Navigational Law 73B, which is actually for misdemeanors. You probably should have used Navigational Law 73C for violations. So that's what's wrong with the code. That'd be equivalent of me running through a stop sign as a violation or traffic infraction, but I'm assessed misdemeanor reckless driving. So that's what. So if you're going to keep that in there, that's something that would need to be questioned. End of September, I went through from the pond all the way up to Fifth Lake and counted PWCs. I didn't count any docks. This is what was physically parked. So there are a total of 291. 56 of them were on the channel, 50 on First Lake, 23 on Third Lake, 162 on Fourth Lake. And keep in mind, this was like mid-September. If this was August, July, I probably would have seen a lot more. I did have petitions. I submitted a petition last year. We had 259 signatures. Everybody had to be over 18, and basically it was anybody that used the lakes, and some of them are renters that stay here and bring, are using the lakes. Let's see. So that's just basically the recap. I think it's really time that we probably can do away with the code, because I just don't. And there again, I'm going to say I know why it was done 20 years ago. Everybody knows why it was done 20 years ago. But if you ride the lakes now, you're going to see responsible families on these things. Now, granted, just like snowmobiling and everything, and boating and everything, you're going to have your reckless people, and they can't ruin it for everybody else that's being responsible. So I just want to kind of recap. I did talk to Nancy today. I think you got the packet, a 14-page packet you got a copy of that? Okay. Or is that looks like it might have been the other one. I had 2 packets.
It's the one that I've had.
All right, I'll give you the one that, I bought one after the meeting. I'll double check it. But, so I just kind of wondered where the board really, stands on that as we are approaching the summer season.
We haven't discussed it, other than to say that we need to bring it back to life, and I agree with you 100%. I think that the law is dated, and I don't see what difference there is that boats can be out there that are watercraft, or personal watercraft can't be at the same time in today's world. So I'm happy to eliminate it. That's me personally.
And the other thing too, talking with people, we have some town employees that like to lead by example, so they have PWCs, but they won't, they get out of work and they don't have time to, go out and, be off of the lake by 6. I did hear one person, because of her hours, she sold her PWC because she, couldn't use it after 6 o'clock.
We sold all ours when I was in high school because of this law. We had 3 of them. We had the pizza shop over here, so I definitely can. I've thought of the same thing. Like, what's the difference when it comes to boats and things of that nature? Like you're saying, people are gonna. There's always gonna be those people that are gonna be reckless.
Right.
But I'm also, for looking back into it, I think it's a little early myself. I don't know if sunrise and sunset. That's what the New York State law is right now.
Sunrise and sunset, yeah. So that's going to fluctuate as we, June and
neighboring lakes
Pardon?
Are any neighboring areas or surrounding areas that don't just go by that? There's no, maybe.
I believe if the research says Hamilton County is sunrise and sunset.
Hamilton County, that's right, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, these don't have lights, so you're not
Right,
running them
right.
at night anyways.
What's that?
These don't have lights, so you're not running.
Yeah, I just think like there's that gray area with the sun set, that's why, that's the only thing that I was thinking of.
And the other thing with having a law on the lake is what good is it? Because I sit on the end of the dock near Elger Island on my friend's dock, and I can watch the sheriff's boat go by before 6 o'clock. I know he's off the lake, and then I'll go up the lake and head home. But we don't have anybody, on the lakes after those hours enforcing it.
I was on the board when this law was made. It was one of my early stints. And the reason that I recall was more noise than anything else. I think the safety things were thrown in as to make it sound better, but I don't see how they're any safer before 6 o'clock than they are after 6 o'clock. So.
The other thing that's tough with the way that law is written is if somebody foiled you guys about what plant life is being, or what's the damage to wildlife, there's really no support and documentation.
Well, this is 20 years later.
Yeah.
And I think I said to you before, we don't go looking for laws to change, that's not
Right.
what we do. So you brought it to us, so let's look at it.
You did a wonderful job with your presentation, so.
But just to follow up with Mark's comment, which I was on the board also,
Brian,
when that law was put in,
change.
it was a couple bad accidents at that time frame.
But
That helped influence our decision.
it might have, but
But it just,
So it just goes to public hearing.
We go to public hearing.
What we talked about.
we'll go to public hearing with what though?
To repeat, if you're gonna repeal it. Recreating it
Do
or
you have to-
repealing it?
Right, well, do we have to address it in our regular voting law?
It's a chapter of the local code, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so you can amend it, or you could repeal it, just decide what you wanna do, and you announce a public hearing with that proposal, so that it's in the public and it's properly noticed. You have your public hearing and take action.
You just have to say we would like to have a public hearing to amend local law, whatever.
Well, you have to have some idea of what you wanna do, because you have to notify the public what the proposed step is gonna be, whether it's repeal or change the hours or what you're contemplating.
Under the current thing, Navigation Law 46 regarding vessel regulation zones, I think you cited a public meeting under Navigation Law 46 because you were creating a vessel zone. So public meetings may not fall under Navigation Law 46, but it might be another part of a public meeting or open meeting or something like that. I just wouldn't want you to cite that particular one as having another public meeting because you're not creating a vessel zone. We already got a vessel regulation zone. If you repeal it, then you might want to just see what that kind of public meeting would fall under other than Navigation Law 46.
That's why we pay Brian.
Okay, the attorney for it.
Anyone else?
Can I give an update? Camp is full, I have 50 kids, 50 little campers, which is great. I have 8 camp counselors, so we're all waiting to become certified. And I still have registration open for swimming classes, tennis, t-ball, kickball, and it looks like there might be a volleyball this summer. Just open volleyball, but free registration is required for everything. And let's see, did I say I have 8 counselors? 9 including myself, and I have 11 lifeguards. So we all have to be certified before we can do anything.
That's great, good news.
Very good.
Thank you. It's hard to find employees, so I know how hard you work on. Yes, Kyle?
So, at the last meeting, there was, the boat parking committee was formed, and paper and help what Mr. Peterson was talking about as far as voting goes. The boat parking committee, consisting of myself, Linda Wheel, Kurt Gardner, and Holly Armandola, met yesterday for a good span of about 2 hours. We had a great discussion. We walked the lakefront, talked different options, different ways to come up with a compromise. We feel that we have come up with the least intrusive compromise, and we would like to ask the board to entertain the idea of bringing back to a public hearing the boat parking law. If you'd like, I can tell you what we come up with. We can do that in private.
One of the things too that was mentioned is that I would like to have a conversation with enforcement too, to make sure that what we're proposing is actually.
There are more things we need to talk about, but to get the ball rolling on it, we would like to see something done with it. We feel it was, well, most of us feel it was a harsh decision one way, without the voices of the other side being really heard. I personally feel with what we've come up with, there is somewhat of a happy medium, a good foot to start off on for years to come. And learning today with the dam work not being possibly beginning until 2024, to see these docks empty at times, it's kind of disheartening. I know a lot of people like not seeing the boats there. It is taken away from some business in the hotels. I've talked to many people that don't come up here now because of that. They can't just throw their boat in for a couple days instead. It also takes away from business at night in town. Because who's to say someone might not just come down from the channel, want to go into town for a late night movie. I'm not sure when does the parking typically
Now, I think it was midnight.
Midnight.
So if you go to a late movie in town, you might get out after midnight. Let's just say you were to take your boat. Hopefully no one does that, but you ticket it. I personally, I never abused it when I had my boating that first year. I know there's other people that haven't abused it as well, and I know there are abusers. There's a long list of them. That's why this happened. We're just trying to work on a solution, a compromise to make both sides somewhat happy. So that way there's no parking on one side of the lakefront and parking on the other. With a 2-night reset we thought about to start, having it be Thursday night into Friday morning and Sunday night into Monday morning. Color-coded sections of the dock to let you know exactly where the parking will be. We also thought about not having any parking at all on the navigation dock, except for the fireboat for emergency response purposes, obvious reasons. And the lakefront docking towards Rivet, that would continue to be no overnight parking, day use only. So yeah, that's something that we've come up with just in our 2 hours that we talked about. We had different things laid out. There's obviously need for further discussion. It's just something that we need the board to make that step, to see if it's a viable option to go back to a public hearing, to amend the law, to get some sort of overnight parking back in effect. And this is just the first step of many, because years down the road, we can expand on this and potentially charge for parking all day long or a couple nights and generate some sort of income revenue off of it for different projects regarding the lakefront, regarding landscaping on the lakefront, just to beautify this. It's just another source of revenue. As far as policing it goes, I haven't talked to Chief Johnston yet, but I do want to talk to you at some point about it. I was also made aware that we do have a constable of reports that said he was willing to patrol it. It's two early mornings theoretically. To do that, it's just some things that we kicked around. And also, before I came to the meeting tonight, I was made aware from the owners of Rivets to the second source that the boat ramp will not be finished due to the ongoing legal issues that they're dealing with. So it's just something that I want to bring to the board to see if we can get this idea rolling again. Open something up. It doesn't has to be 50-50, we're not looking for 50-50. The placement that we did walk and decided would be a good area was behind the tennis courts to the end of the dock and the Pied Piper side. Theoretically, we're talking max 20 boats, if that. And obviously, because of length of different sized boats, you could possibly only see 15 in there, maybe even less. But it's just something that we wanted to bring, get the talks going again, possibly see a public hearing, possibly see an amendment to the law.
So I'm gonna give you a couple of my opinions on this. Number one is that when we did this law, my premise was not because of a couple of bad apples, and I said it over and over. My reason for agreeing to it was that I felt that it was fair for everybody to be able to access, because I'm curious who we're trying to serve with 15 or 20 boats that can dock there. When you say that businesses, I've had one business owner that's complained to me about it, and I don't feel that we can offer dock space for businesses, but I'm not gonna turn this into a public hearing, I promise. So my other concern is that we paid an attorney to devise this for us and to hold the public hearing so that we have this law. So now we're gonna modify it for a period of a couple of years, then we've gotta do it again when we complete this stuff over here. So I just don't know how many times we wanna keep spending money on doing something like this for that question of who are we serving. That's just my opinion, okay?
Theoretically, if I could just say that when that work does begin, I personally now, I don't know the law that well at all, if any, but when the work begins on that side, that's just an overnight spot that's lost until the work's done.
I don't disagree, so you're changing the law for a really skinny portion of property when that starts. But then we have to change it again because that's where we talk about finger docks and paid parking type of situation. So it's just bear that in mind. We would be doing 3 different steps, creating a law to appease who?
Hi, so I would just like to interject. I'd like to interject too, just because I don't think the whole committee felt that it was a harsh law just handed down without conversation, right? I was there. Yeah, no, it's okay. I was there at the supervisor's request to have some opposition to re-allowing overnight boat parking. Right, and I had agreed with the law. There was a lot of careful discussion and consideration about our values, right, and about our community and its varied needs, and about the future we want to see, right? I keep interjecting that. That's my viewpoint, right? But I thought it was a brilliant solution when the law was passed. But I also think that the committee came up with something that should be presented. I think one of the really great gains for somebody with my viewpoint that it was a good law was getting the use back of the navigation docks with no parking at the navigation docks except the fireboat, so that public use there would be expanded. And once that piece was interjected, also a raised fine for violators, because it was really important, I think, to everyone on the committee, that there be no backslide into the situation as it existed, which really was untenable and nobody was able to park. We are looking at parking, I would say, for an average of 16 boats until that overnight possibility with 2 nights a week as a reset, set there as a, to stop a backslide. And also maintaining that beautiful, unobstructed, boatless lakefront every morning on the whole side of the navigation docks to rivets. It wasn't a fun process, and we have a lot of important things to talk about as a community. But I am really proud of the work the committee got done, even though I'm not 100% proud of my conduct, I think we still came up with an awesome solution that would meet more people's needs. And it's a compromise that there's more for everyone to complain about and there's more for everyone to like. Like, I really felt like what we thought of took our community and really wasn't catering to any particular whatever. It kind of allowed 15 lucky people to park their boats overnight, 5 nights a week. Because circumstance makes it hard for certain people, for certain reasons, to get their boat in and out of the water. The other thing I think is language for the community to pursue a boat launch in the community, not that it be a town-owned boat launch, or necessarily a state-owned boat launch, or a private boat launch, but just language that says that would be an asset to the community, so that as opportunities for funding come up, or whatever, or business deals, or, you know, and that I think would definitely alleviate it. But when the law was presented, many of the board members did say, I think this is a temporary solution, this is a reset, this is we have a bad situation. We tried awful hard, and I think if it gets typed up and presented to the board, I think it could be considered.
Ron?
Two things. Kyle just confirmed, I was gonna bring up about the contiguous waters with the PWC law, and I spoke with George about that. For those that don't understand, contiguous waters means inlet has jurisdiction in Old Forge and vice versa. If the example we used to use in our Marine law enforcement school, Lake Ontario, there's like 23 jurisdictions. If I'm in the city of Rochester and want to write a ticket in Oswego County, I can't because there's concurrent jurisdiction. So I remember when this law was passed, long before I even knew where the town of Webb was, we questioned how that would work. Ironically, I'm here and it's not working. So with that boat launch closed in Old Forge and no signage and limited enforcement by the Herkimer County Sheriff's Office, and just so everybody on the board is aware, Town of Webb Police Department boat does not touch the Fulton chain unless there's an emergency. The Herkimer County Sheriff's Office is charged with law enforcement on the Fulton chain. We let them do that. They obtain reimbursement for that, so we don't step on their toes. We can go to Big Moose, Twitcher, and Stillwater. So that, George, will be an issue. I'm not going to come out and say that Herkimer County's not enforcing the PWC law, but the court records kind of show what's going on there.
Minimal.
The next topic, you know, Kyle and I will talk, but I just want everybody to know, before the decision was even made to shut down the waterfront, I personally worked with Kurt Gardner, a few others, and we had two separate solutions that never came to fruition. The first was we actually designed the same vendor that makes our snowmobile decals. We had one made for the waterfront. We had an agreement with Mike Farmer that his staff would log the boat in, would be here for these days, because the problem with enforcement is it said 14 days. Well, if you weren't there for one day, how can you testify in court that it was there for 14 consecutive days? You can't. And people were taking advantage of that situation. So we tried that. They didn't like that. So then we did a lot of research on I'm going to call them a vending machine. We researched, there was a community up in Maine that had them. Lake George, Skinny Atlas, and Auburn all have these solar vending machines that print off a ticket. We did the research for that. Kurt did a lot of that work. That got turned over to the former supervisor and did not come to fruition. So as far as the enforcement standpoint in that, we did a lot more than just say, well, that sounds good, close it down. We did like 2 years of work. We didn't just, take that decision lightly. But everybody had all these great ideas about enforcement, but if you can't use them, we need to research that. So I just want to get in that same.
I think that became some of our conversations. back and forth, I think that became some of our issues, you know?
Yep.
I mean, it just wasn't working.
Sounds like there's a compromise here that should be addressed in that. I think Linda made that clear, someone's against, or for the current law, right? So,
Absolutely.
yeah, someone who's for the current law is agreeing that this could be the best of both worlds, where you still get the navigation docks, the picture perfect spot, you pull up the lakefront, you still have that available, and then there are certain spots where you can use. My only thing is, that I like to see in there is, you know, you can't be the same people. Okay, you get one shot for, because that's what was going on, is everybody just kept reparking their boats. You know, I did it. I mean, you know, whenever I had the chance to, we snuck in. It was like a competition, you know. So if there's a way to make it so it's being looked at not just by enforcement, you know, by the registering process, if we can find a way to maybe get somebody in that, you know, information office across the way over there to maybe register someone, and then they can't do it again for just July and August we're talking about, right? For the most part.
Yeah, I think June and July.
So it's, hey, that's your shot. You can't come back and use these 16 to 20 spots. I mean, I'm definitely in favor of looking at it again. At the same time, it's something that can be done. You know, it's like when you guys rolled it last year. I didn't have any problem. You ran out of time. It's like, okay, what are we going to do? And that would seem like the easiest solution at that time. Can this be done before the season? I would hope so, but those are my concerns. I'm definitely in favor of looking at what you guys put together.
I would doubt it, because your next hearing is June 14th, like your next public meeting, and you would have to, should you want to change a law, you would have to do the exact same process. You have to go to public hearing, and right now the law is in effect as it stands, and I would expect that on June 15th, there'd be no overnight boat parking at that time. But should the board look at changing the law, should the town change the law, it goes to public hearing, the public has their say, board votes on what they think is best. You know, you look at how many votes you have for a change, and you know the outcome.
I personally think we lack a lot of other ways for us to generate revenue around here. So like fixing it now and then doing it again, next year, the year after that, when we are able to do some sort of permanent parking, like Barb was saying, we're going to keep changing every time something comes up, like the game gets changed around. Like, if we're too late now, to get this done for this summer, we should start taking those steps to actually get the permits, parking done. Now, one of the things that I thought about was you come over here, you pay, you swipe your credit card, you get your permit, and for every day your boat's not there, that thing just gets hit. I mean, we all travel, we go places. I think there's a way for us to make more money on this thing than anything else. We're gonna need to start finding money for hourly wages and town jobs and things like that with everything going up. This is one way to help with that. So I mean, maybe we could just change the priority set to moving that into next year, doing it the right way and keeping it. I think the halfway move here is, you guys are onto something with that, but if it's not gonna be done in time, then we're just wasting time, right?
Let me clarify, I wasn't coming to the board looking for it to be done this year, done by June.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, that's not gonna happen this year.
Oh, I didn't, yeah.
Obviously,
Okay.
there's not enough time. But, down the road, we start the conversation now, so that way this time next year, we're not sitting here talking about the same thing.
And I think it should be a bigger, more elaborate plan when it comes to, with the permits and the vending machine that has, as Chief worded it,
I was very happy to serve on the May 2022 boat committee.
Yeah.
I think we've made our recommendation, we'll write it up for you.
Perfect.
And then if you have
sure
maybe
there's
a
a-
boat permitting committee, we could discuss that
There you
if
go.
there were some alternate changes, it might need to be a different committee.
There's a lot of comments been made, so I think that would be the perfect thing. Write it up, we'll talk about it.
But I would
have
hate-
a million things to say, but
One last thing,
Definitely.
I would hate to see it be in the same shoes again next year, like, we're talking about it again coming up, like, I think it should be, kind of looked at for next year, so we can figure something out if it's gonna be addressed, so we don't talk about it again next April or May.
I agree.
That's my opinion.
Yes, ma'am.
Robin Hill, Mike, thank you very much for getting the farmer's market shed leveled and up on some gravel. We appreciate that. Was it Casey or was it DPW that helped you with that? Or,
It was pretty much my son Justin and I.
well, thank you to you and Justin. We did get the rest of the fencing, and the benches moved over. Right now, some of it's underneath that pavilion, the benches are over by the shed. And I did take a picture of an area by the on the backside of one of the snowmobiling buildings that if you and I could just talk to Chuck to see if the fencing and the benches could be leaned up against that building, just because it's gonna be less distance for Sue to get it set up. So we can just talk about it, see if that'll work. And then at the Mobile Integrated Health, we're still working, Living ADK, MVHS, and OFVAC have 2 grant letters of interest, which is kind of like a phase 1 grant application. I think the Mother Cabrini is due mid-May, coming up maybe next week. And then the June 9th for the New York State Health Foundation. So again, continuing to move forward on that project. And really working well with the Perk-Moronida Planning Office on some additional statistics that we were able to get through the help of Mr. Wallace and Sue Seymour. So, good collaboration.
Thank you.
And, actually, Bonnie contacted about the internet over there. I believe that's moving forward.
It'll be there when they go to do their thing.
And you're gonna be there for our ribbon cutting?
I will be there. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. I need a motion to pay the audited claims.
No.
No? No, we're doing this.
We're doing it, we changed it.
Where do we change it? We're doing a motion to pay the audited claims, please.
I'll make the motion to pay the audit claim.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do you need a motion? I'll make a motion to discuss employment history of a particular employee, please, in executive session.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Oh, roll call vote, excuse me. Nancy?
I'm sorry, Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Gardner? Aye. Councilwoman Green? Aye. Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you all for coming. We'll be going into executive session. We are out of executive session. No action was taken. Can I have a motion to please adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, who did that?
Barbara.
Anyone else?
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can we just talk about
No.
Just kidding.